quarterback's not the position that I'm like, yes, if that was different, we would look so much more explosive.
What is the position that you think the Niners need
Center
to
and left
improve
guard.
on?
Center and left guard,
Absolutely.
without a doubt, and by a mile. I mean, one, we saw a difference last night because Aaron Banks was not in the game. Like that alone was a big difference. Aaron Banks has, in my opinion, was in a neck and neck race with Jake Brendel for being the worst offensive lineman on our team this year.
Yeah, he was
And it
really
wasn't
bad
close.
this year. He was really bad.
Like bad in the run game, bad in the pass game. I don't know why. I don't know if they were just hoping he would start to return to form or something. Like somewhere in there, I don't know if there's been a lingering injury issue or something that he's had, but he just has not looked right the entire season. Jake Brendel has not looked good since he's been starting. Like I look at this situation, I go, those things change. This is a completely different team. Because just think about, again, we've talked about the limitations that Jimmy G had. And
we're talking about Jake Brendel. I mean, this is him again. There he is, just watching.
And yeah, the watcher. Just think about the limitations that Jimmy G had. Our 2019 offense was as explosive or more explosive than any offense we've had with Brock Purdy. Well, what was the difference through much of that year? We had Weston Richburg as our center. Weston Richburg was a phenomenal center. And that run game was super explosive that year. I mean, and it didn't matter who we had their running back, whether it was Matt Breida, who started the year as a starter and ran for like 500 yards through the first 6 or 7 games, and we had Tevin Coleman getting 4 touchdowns in a game, and then we ended the year with Raheem Mostert just blowing everybody away. Weston Richburg had a lot to do with that. Then he tore his patellar tendon in, I believe it was against the Falcons, if I remember right from that year. He tore his patellar tendon, and the team still did pretty well through, we remember the 2 playoff games, but come the Super Bowl, the offensive line really struggled down the stretch in that Super Bowl, and just, Jimmy overthrew some balls. So people say, well, Brock's underthrew a few. Yeah, but we also watched Jimmy overthrow a number of those in key moments.
Yeah, to Sanders at the fourth quarter. My God.
But there was some issues there. And so what did they do after they thought they were going to get Weston Richburg back in 2020, right? It was supposed to be like a 6 to 8 week injury recovery. And then it turned out to be one of those rare, like 2% chance career enders with his patellar tendon. They didn't have that. They ran, I think it was Ben Garland, I think was who it was the next year in 2020. And, then Jimmy got hurt twice with the high ankle sprains, and they said, okay, we're going to go get a different quarterback. And they went out and got Alex Mack as well. And Alex Mack was going to be their starting center, and the offense looked a lot better for a while. And then they thought Alex Mack was going to come back, and he retired. And Jake Brendel's been the de facto since. But when you look at this team with either Alex Mack or Weston Richburg, and they're like, I want to say something like 28-3 with those guys on the field. Like, it's just a ridiculous win percentage when you've had either Weston Richburg or Alex Mack out there. With Jake Brendel, is not the same. Or, anybody else playing center. So, like, they have got to get that center position addressed this offseason. They got to get left guard addressed this offseason. Like,
there's been a lot of plays. There's been a lot of plays that I've watched on your channel where you watch Brendel just get completely blown up, and the play gets blown up, especially in the run game.
Yeah.
One of the guys who caught a lot of heat early on was Colton McKivitz. And is he the best at right tackle? No. But, I mean, this was back on December 16th. He only had given up 1 sack, which is pretty crazy. And I think that McKivitz gets a lot of the heat, especially early on this year. It was like, oh, McKivitz. But as the season has gone on, it really has become more about Jake Brendel. So you talk about, the offensive line. You're saying center and right guard, because we know that Aaron Banks is coming up on free agency. Would you try to bring him back, or would you look to replace him with a different option?
I wouldn't waste the money, honestly. Like, he's probably going to hit the open market, and a guy who started the amount of games he has, he's gonna go somewhere and make like $7 or $8 million. That's just what the market value is going to be. There's going to be a team, like the Titans, who just got to revamp everything, and they're going to say, okay, let's bring in a starter to try and put some pieces together, right. And so they're gonna go pay Aaron Banks. So I don't think you waste the money on it. I think what you do, first thing you're going to do is re-sign Ben Barch. Ben Barch, in the time, I know it was the Buffalo game, he looked so much better.
And he got hurt.
So much better.
I was like, oh.
And then the Bears game, like a guy falls, like he trips over somebody, and then somebody falls on his ankle, and I think broke his ankle, or high ankle sprain, one of the two. And his season was done. And so, like, I think you immediately re-sign Ben Barch to bring in as competition, but you don't settle with that. If John Feliciano wants to try and make another run for it, he's been kind of cryptic on social media about something like that. I say you bring him in again, offer him a vet minimum. Like, you're not going to invest a bunch of resources there and cap space, and you're not going to rely upon him, because he was, I think, the plan for center.
I think so.
I really do think that he was the plan for center this year, and that didn't work out. That once Pooney came along, they were like, all right, when Feliciano, we're going to kick him into center. He can play center. And he's a veteran who knows everything in our offense, is able to make all these calls. We're going to plug him in there. I think that was their plan, was to have a three-way competition there for those two spots of center and right guard. I do think you re-sign Spencer Burford, because I think you can get him on cheap, and I like him at left guard a lot more than I do right guard.
Yeah.
He played on the left side in college. He looked a lot more comfortable there.
Okay, so as we wrap things up on this segment of the 49ers, let me ask you real quick. Jake Moody, is this a guy? Look, he had the worst game of his fucking life. You even saw John Lynch getting pissed off. He's like, God damn it. So is this a guy that you stick with? Because, obviously he's under team control for another 2 more years at a low rate, or do you move off of him and bring somebody in who has more experience?
Well, so here's, it's the struggle of like, okay, one, they obviously do not trust him.
But how can you? When he kicks his ball, he doesn't know where it's going. Like, he's just like, where's it going? Oh God, I missed. He missed an extra point. That was topping.
He's got the yips right now. He absolutely does. Now, here's the
kicker for the Lions comes out here and he kicks a fucking 58-yarder like it's butter. Like, all right, got it. I was like, he made it look easy. Like, Jake Moody, it's like a stress fest.
So here's the sticking point with Jake Moody. He's got about $430,000 in prorated signing bonuses dead cap, and his base salary is $1.182 million. So you're only gonna gain about $1 million in salary cap by cutting him. You've invested a 3rd-round pick. You don't have a lot to gain financially by cutting him, but you don't trust him. So you're in this weird point. You cannot trust him. So what you have to do, I expect him to be on the roster and people to freak out about it. But I do expect, but here's what I expect. I expect there to be at least 1 or 2 more kickers brought in, whether it be via free agency or the draft, to compete with him and say, Jake, we are going to have a kickoff every single day. And the first guy who misses 6 field goals is going to lose here, is going to be cut. And we're going to do this every day. And we're going to bring somebody else in every time this happens until you beat out like 20 guys.
This guy, I've seen players take over a game. This guy took over the game in the worst possible way. He missed 2 field goals. He missed an extra point. Then on the onside kick, he launched it into the sidelines. I was like, bro, what are you doing? You didn't even give us a chance. I was just like, oh my God. He's been a problem all year.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying, but I just feel like you got to bring in competition and make him compete for this position, because it's costing you games. He has literally cost us games last season and this season. Looking at the offense, other than Ayuk coming back, you still have Debo, Pearsall, Jennings. Is there anything on offense you think they need to acquire, or do you think they can run this back with what they got and they have enough talent to kind of keep this going? Or should we go elsewhere? And also, Would you bring back Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga?
Yes, I would bring both those guys because I think both of them are going to be lower than what their market value will be a year from now.
What about Charvarius Ward?
No, and I
and
hate
God bless
saying
him.
that.
I mean,
hate saying that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't either.
I mean, just for financial reasons of the way that the cap has gone around. I mean, look, I can't imagine trying to do anything work related, play football with the year that he's had. So I don't want to say this is performance based. I just think where cap management wise, with them investing so much in Diamador Lenore, the ascendancy of Renardo Green, they've got to then continue to get younger at that group. I think what I look at with Jake Moody, okay, is if you just remember a few years ago, we played the Dallas Cowboys and we were laughing at them because their kicker, Brett Maher, had just got the yips and was missing everything in sight. He was cut like the week after they lost to us. Wasn't that in the playoffs? And, you know, it was that year he was terrible. The next year, Brett Maher ended up going and kicking for the Rams and doing pretty well. Like, and then he ended up playing with Dallas again. If I'm remembering these years right, you know, he at one point he was a 94% field goal kicker.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it happens to kickers.
There's just things where kickers, it's mental. It's a head, something gets in their head. And I think that's what's really going on with Jake Moody. Either he's not trusting his plant foot or something. I don't know. I've been trying to get a hold of some old NFL kickers. They are either they don't have their DMs turned on or they have no social media at all. I had an email address that somebody who was friends with a former 49ers kicker had. And they sent it to me, and I sent him an email, but I don't think he checks it because it was still an AOL.com email.
That's an old one.
And so I couldn't get a hold of him to just say, like, can we watch some kicking film here? Because I don't know anything about kicking a football. And you tell me, like, what's the issues here? Is this all mental? Is this a systemic problem with the way Jake Moody's kicking? Like, but at this point, Jake Moody's got the yips. And either you've got to like instill some serious confidence and say, Jake, we are not bringing any competition for you at all, which I don't think is the route they need to go. They need to test him mentally as hard as they can this offseason. And if he breaks, and this is the unfortunate part of the NFL, if he breaks, then be gone with you. You are dead to us, and we will bring in somebody else. I remember they did that to Jose Cortez, right? Jose Cortez, if you remember back, that's a throwback.
Yeah, it's a throwback.
Jose Cortez, he was hitting everything for a long time, and then all of a sudden it was like 1 year down the stretch, he got the yips, couldn't hit even like a 48-yarder. They canned his rear end and moved on. I think he was an XFL kicker, if I remember right, from Jose Cortez. You do that. You pull that with Jake Moody. You're going to say, all right, we're going to bring in the guy from the UFL. If somebody there is making kicks better than you are, and it's not like he's a young
really
guy.
Bad.
He's the
it's
same
really
age
bad.
Brock Purdy is. So, like,
we'll see. I mean, he's got the offseason. He's got next week as well. So we'll see how he kind of pans out. Obviously, there's some bright spots on our defense with Malik Mustafa, with Renardo Green. So you do have some bright spots there. I thought D. Winters looked so much better than Devondre Campbell in this game.
D. Winters, I love him. He just got to stay on the field. I mean,
he gets hurt a lot. Every time he goes out there, he's like, "Oh, I'm hurt. Oh, I'm hurt." You know, it's like,
for real. God. Like, it's chest injury, ankle injury, head injury, neck injury, shoulder injury, leg injury. Like, it's just something every game. Like, dude cramped up like 3 times.
I saw him limping around like, ugh.
Yeah, when that leg locks and he's moving around, you go, oh, there's a cramp.
Well, and Dre Greenlaw, I thought played so well in the game he came back. I think that showed that, like, hey, look, this guy's still got it. Obviously, he played so hard that he gassed himself, and he had some injuries he was dealing with too.
Yeah, and I had talked to great content creator. She's on X, Coach Desi. She's a doctor, and we talked about Dre Greenlaw, and she flat out told me, she goes, I don't think he's going to be 100% until January. Probably not until week 1 of the playoffs is when he would be getting close to 100%. So he definitely rushed his way back to get back on the field.
Well, he was trying to help the team, I think,
because the team was in needed that win against LA. So like they would not have pushed him to come back so early if they hadn't lost as many games early in the year. But he like the timeline of what that injury recovery should have been, he was not fully healthy. And so like that's just the result of a guy rushing his way back. I don't think it was this is okay, this proves that Dre is now injury prone, which he has missed a lot of time due to injuries himself. But like I'm looking at that, I'm saying I don't think this is a systemic long thing. That's just what happens when a guy tries to rush that back early. There's going to be downstream effects everywhere else.
Yeah,
he just needs more time. It was very much like the Navarro Bowman injury that happened. Late in the season when you have a serious injury.
I don't want to think about
to
that
a major
game.
ligament.
Horrible. Oh,
that costs you more than that. See, it's a double whammy because it costs you at the most important time of the year for your season that year, and it costs you that guy the whole next year, and that's essentially what it did. That's why those injuries hurt so bad.